ubwoba mfite nuko izi ntambara zitangiye iwacu ubwoko bwacu bugiye gushira no selma gushira physically ariko kandi no muri mentally ubwoko bwacu bugiye kurangira amaraso burya amaraso agira impumuro yayo umuntu wacitse ku icumu iyo yumvise icyo kintu arwaye trauma ya mpumuro iraza exactly uko yayumvise wa munsi.
This is because there is an extinct smell that comes from burnt people and that comes alive. And those are some of the signs that are shown in your mind.
Mbere yo kugira icyo tuvuga ndagira ngo kuko abandi babivuze nongere tange pole ku muryango w'abanyamurenge.
Before I speak, I also want to give a word of comfort to the people of Banyamulenge.
Ibi twibuka none hari umwana wigeze kubivuga hano ntabwo twibuka kwa bisa nk'ahari ibintu byarangiye ni ibintu turimo ngira ngo ni ibintu dukomeza tuvuga tuzabyibuka ruko byahagaze twibuka amateka ariko ntakira amateka ntabwo ari amateka ni ibintu turimo buri munsi.
We continue to remember because it's a continuous thing. We will not stop until then.
Nyuma y'aba bantu bari hano amazina araha tumaze gupfusha abandi incuro zitabarika bangana nawe.
After the massacre of Gatumba, we have lost much more than the people you see here.
N'abandi bapfa buri munsi rero twese dukomeze duhumurike.
It is a daily thing, so stay strong.
Ariko duhumurike dufite icyo tugomba gukora kuko ntitwakwicara ngo twifumbate.
I am comforting you, but also asking you to not stay with arms crossed.
Hari ibintu bibiri nshaka kuvuga mbere yuko ntanga ikiganiro kigufi.
There's two things I need to say.
Kintu cya mbere natinze kuri imipira abantu benshi bambaye kiri hagati sinzi ko mwagishizeho gifite purpose n'ubusobanuro nagitinzeho cyane ndashaka ngo twese muri iki cyumweru iyi weekend turimo twibuka tugitekerezo nk'igiti cyo kwizera ko umunyamurenge atazashira.
I was observing the t-shirt that most of us are wearing, and it has the tree. I want us throughout this weekend to know and remember that Emunyamulenge is not going to be erased to the face of the earth.
Ikindi cya kabiri nshaka kuvuga ndashaka kugira ngo ntange inama ngufi y'uburyo twazajya dufasha abantu kuko igikorwa nk'iki kigira ibikomere cyongera gutoneka.
The other thing is thinking of ways to help ourselves, to help our people, because an event such as this affects people and wound them.
Rero nta hantu abantu bakora igikorwa nk'iki ngo dukore gusa ngo turavuga abantu batahe bameze neza ntibibaho. Tugomba kugira kuzajya dutegura session ya healing tukareba uko dufasha abantu.
It is important that when we gather to remember, we also create a session of healing.
Dushobora kubikora mu buryo bubiri hariho uburyo buri professional nk'abana b'abasore bari hano iyo warabwumva n'uwahungabana abantu bamufasha noneho hakabaho n'uburyo dushobora kwifashisha abapastori bacu abakozi b'Imana tukagira atelier bakaba ari ahantu mu cyumba bahura n'umuntu bakamuganiza bakamufasha kuko ntabwo tuzajya tuza ngo tuvuge amateka abantu bataye bakomeretse twumve ko twebwe tudonga abantu bagenda gutyo ntibagire ingaruka.
We can have something such as having our pastors in a room where we would have, if someone is struggling to stand or having emotions, and they can have a tangible way of being helped.
So bansabye kuganira hejuru y'ihungabana uko rigaragara ku bantu bahuye n'ibibazo nk'ibi ngibi turimo kuvuga.
I was asked to speak about how the trauma such as the Gatumba massacre affects people who survived.
Bansabye kuvuga iminota 30 mu by'ukuri ntabwo ndi buvuge ibintu byose ngo nabivuga mu minota 30 ntibishoboka.
I was given about 30 minutes, but there's so much to say that needs more time.
Trauma ubwayo ni domain, ntabwo ari class imwe abantu biga, ni domain umuntu yigamo agakora masters cyangwa PhD ukiga imyaka 4 cyangwa 5 wiga ico kintu kimwe gusa.
Trauma is so diverse that it takes a whole PhD to study.
Ntabwo rero nabivuga mu minota 30.
It is therefore not easy to put in 30 minutes.
Ndabaga gusa summary yayo cyangwa se mu incamake.
I'll only give a short summary.
Abantu bashobora gusoma icyongereza ndaza gutanga email yanje bazanyandikire. Ari isomo njya ntanga umwaka ugashira aricyo kintu nigisha abantu.
For those who have email and can read English, I can share my email and I will share some of the resources I use. I can share those information.
Ikindi nakoze ubushakashatsi muri PhD yanje nibyo nakoze ubushakashatsi.
It is my area of study.
Nakoze ubushakashatsi ureba uburyo ihungabana ryandukira.
I made a research about how trauma can be sort of contagious or
ihungabana ni indwara nk'izindi zose.
Trauma is a disease or a sickness like any other sickness.
Ni indwara nka COVID tuvuyemo, ni indwara nka malaria.
It is similar as COVID-19 or malaria.
Igira ikitera, ikagira na symptom, ikagira n'ikivura.
Because trauma has a cause and has a symptoms and also treatment.
Rero nakoze ubushakashatsi imyaka 4 yose n'igice.
For 4.5 years, I've been researching about trauma.
Nanditse igitabo muri cyo bintu, ababishaka bampa email zabo kazabaha link bakazagisoma.
I also written a book about it. I can share that resource as well.
Ubundi buryo nafashamo abantu nkunda no kubikora iyo twahuye muri iki gikorwa, umuntu ku giti cye nindangiza akumva hari ico bwiye cyangwa se hari ico bimwibutsa, ndabaha email yanje, ndabaha telefone yanje. Hari abantu, hari testimony mfite hano z'abantu twahuriye muri Houston 2008 muri commemoration 2008. Yeah, 2008 abantu bari bagifite ibikomere bitonyanga amaraso.
In 2008, I have testimonies of people who I met who were still so very wounded at the time.
Ndangije gutanga ikiganiro, hari umumama waje aranyegera.
After I spoke, a woman came to me
arambaza ngo se dayo ngo uzawerekwa,
and asked me, "Dear, do you actually see or have vision?" Because as you were speaking, I felt that you were seeing me, you were speaking about me. And I was able to tell her, it's not only you, these are things we study. There were 3 women and men. We talked and talked up to midnight.
Nakoze therapy, counseling.
That night we talked and I was doing what we call therapy.
Symptom yari afite yambwira ko yagiraga umujinya ku buryo umuntu yamuramutsaga mu gitondo kumva ngo yamutema.
One of the symptoms of the trauma this person had was that if you greeted that person in the morning, they felt so much anger that if a person greeted them, through that talk they healed and now they gave me their testimony.
So,
trauma is sickness. It's a disease that comes from being experiencing something like this. You may have it from an accident. You may have it from loss of a loved one. You may have it from a chronic illness.
So niko iyo ndwara imeze.
That is how trauma comes. Or
Ikibazo cy'iyo ndwara nuko ifata ibice byose bigize umuntu.
the biggest issue with the trauma, it attacks the whole body. It
Igituma ngiye
affects the whole
kubivuga no
body.
kugira ngo abantu bumve ko ntabwo yabivuze
Princess.
Princess yabivuze ko twebwe ntiturafunguka ngo tuje muri tapping y'abazungu, tuje kwivuza nk'uko abazungu bivuza izi ndwara.
We have spoken about it earlier, how our people are now open to the counseling of, the culture of the practices of this culture.
Ndabanza kudemystify iyo ndwara mbabwire ko please shaka ubufasha, ntabwo ari igisebo, ahubwo utabifungukiye ngo uje gusaba ubufasha nicyo kibazo.
The issue is not seeking treatment or help.
Iyi ndwara ishobora kugenda ikagera ku ma generation 3 cyangwa 4.
Trauma may be transmitted to your generational.
Hari abazungu bari hano muri Amerika bavura abantu bacitse ku icumu ryo mu Gatumba cyangwa genocide yo mu Rwanda.
There are people here in America who treat survivors of Rwandan genocide or Gatumba massacre.
Abazungu bataragera muri Afrika.
Why people who actually never been to Africa?
Ariko barwaye trauma y'Abanyarwanda cyangwa y'abacikacumu mu Gatumba.
But because they provide that treatment, they also experienced trauma from those individuals.
Ni indwara yandukira.
Meaning this is a disease that is contagious.
Umukansela iyo dukora counseling urarangiza nawe ukaja gushaka undi mukansela wawe wenyine.
This is why as a counselor you also seek counseling after.
So trauma ntabwo ari y'abantu bari weak, ni gute twavuga babanyantege nke.
Trauma is not for weak individuals.
Abadokteri barayirwara.
Doctors may have trauma.
Perezida bakayirwara.
President may have trauma.
Bakomeye bakayirwara bavuye ku rugamba.
Highest rank military or generals.
Hari general muri Canada witwa Romeo Dallaire wabaye mu Rwanda.
For those who know Romeo Dallaire,
kuva avuye mu Rwanda ntaraba muzima.
Since he left Rwanda, he never been okay.
Ubushakashatsi buvuga ko abantu porusa 8 cyangwa se ibice 8% by'abatuye isi somehow mu buzima bwabo bahura na trauma. 8%.
8% of the people living the world are affected by trauma.
Ntabwo ari abanyafrika, si abazungu, ni kiremwa muntu.
It is not for white or black or African.
Inyamaswa zirwara trauma.
Even animals can have trauma.
Inka wacu zarwaraga trauma.
Like our cows may have been traumatized.
Imbwa ziwacu zarwaraga trauma.
Dogs.
Imbwa za hano zirwara trauma.
Dogs of America can also have trauma.
Cyose gihumeka.
Anything that breathes.
Gishobora kumva ububabare ku mubiri.
Anything that can experience pain.
Gishobora kugira fear cyangwa se ubwoba mu bwongo.
Any living that can have fear can have trauma.
Rero ibimenyetso by'abantu barwaye trauma mujye mubitandukanya n'ubusazi. Icyo twita iwacu ngo ni ibisazi, nta bisazi bibaho. Biriya zose ni indwara.
I urge you to separate the signs of trauma from being crazy.
Kuko iyo uvuze ngo umuntu yasaze nicyo gihe atinya no kuja kuvuga kwa muganga ibyo ararabona ibyo yirirwamo.
Because when you call a person who has trauma that they are crazy, they then do not seek help.
Mu ndimi zacu tubura uko twita ibintu ariko nta bisazi. Ibisazi uko tubyita nta bisazi bihaba, ziriya zose ni indwara.
Our language is poor in that it has no words for trauma.
Nakuriye ngendo munyabibogobogo ni iwacu, by the way, niho nakuriye.
I was raised in Bibogobogo.
Mu muhana w'iwacu nyanibuka ndi umwana hari umugabo wasaraga igihe cyo muci bakamuhambira imigozi bakamushira mu nzu bagakinga.
When I was younger, there was a man who would experience trauma and would be called crazy.
Naje gusobanukirwa indwara yararwaye ndimo niga hano muri masters, ndavuga ngo uriya mugabo yararenganye. Ni indwara umuha imiti umuntu agakira akajya mu murima gahinga akorora akaja mu biraro, as long as afite imiti agakora n'akazi ke.
It was after my studies that I then knew that this man was having trauma.
Abazungu bose mubona badutegetse hano twiriranwa mu tuzi, abenshi barwaye izi ndwara bafata imiti dushobora kubimenya ni indwara zivurwa n'imiti.
A lot of people you work with have trauma, but they receive treatment and you will not know.
rero ni gute ibimenyetso by'indwara bigaragara?
You ask me what are the signs of trauma?
Hari icyo twita exposure cyangwa se no kubona ibintu bisa n'ibyo wabonye.
It is by experiencing things such as Gatumba massacre.
Ndabaha urugero tuvuge umuntu wacitse ku icumu ryo mu Gatumba.
For example, a Gatumba massacre survivor.
Arebye birimo kubera muri Ukraine.
If this person watches what's happening in Ukraine
akabona amazu ari gusha
and sees houses burning,
bihita bigarura isura ry'amahema arimo gusha mu Burundi.
It brings back flashbacks from burnt tent in Gatumba.
Niyo arebye movie akabona umuntu movie ntabwo ari ukuri ariko akabona umuntu bita ko yapfuye barashe amariko mu kuva amaraso bigarura ya memory bigarura ya image yabonye cyane.
Even when they watch images of people being shot, it brings back the same memory.
Hari ikindi twita avoidance cyangwa se utangazwe n'umuntu wacitse ku icumu ryo mu Gatumba.
A person might refuse to go to a camp just so they don't see a tent because they were burned. They saw people being burnt in it.
Trauma rero ifata ibice bigize umuntu bigera kuri 4.
Trauma can affect a person in 4 different ways.
Cyambere reka tuvuge mind navuga ko ari mu mitekerereze y'umuntu.
Mind.
Umuntu ufite trauma cyangwa se trauma yafashe ahoragira worry twayivuga gute worry kumva ahagaritse umutima uhagarika umutima uhangayika wumva ko ari nk'ikintu runaka kigiye kukubaho.
Trauma can cause you to feel more fearful or remained worried.
Uwo muntu rero kubera ko ahora umutima uhagaze tagira concentration ntashobora kuja ku gikorwa kimwe ngo agikore kirangire.
Because of this you may lack concentration.
Muri abo mama twahuye muri 2008 hari umwe wambwiye ngo ngwaje guteka ibiryo.
These women I met in 2008, one told me that when they're cooking,
unimbagiye guteka ibishimbo hariho sequence yari gufata amazi ukashira ku mbabura ukaja kuzana ibishimbo kabzoza noneho agashira amazi ku mbabura akumva ko yatetse ibishimbo akagenda kicara umunsi wose ukira amazi agashira amandi mu maso yari kubona ibishimbo biri mu nkono.
Imagine this woman would tell me when they are supposed to be boiling beans, they will boil water for as long as it takes to cook beans, thinking that they were cooking beans.
Nukuva ku bwonko bw'umuntu urwaye trauma n'ubwonko bw'umuntu uri muzima tibuka no muri scanner yo tubikora hariho difference.
Even in the scannings or the CT scans, the brain of a person who experienced trauma does not look the same.
Mfite hano nari kubazanira amasho mwese n'umuntu utarageze mu ishuri uhitubonamo difference. Harimo iyo trauma yaje kubera ko ari indwara iragenda ikangiza ibice bimwe by'ubwonko. Iyo ushize muri CT scanner uhitubona ubwonko burwaye n'ubutarwaye.
You can tell the difference observing the scanned image or a brain of a person who has trauma and that doesn't have trauma.
Rero iyi ndwara iragenda igafata ibice by'umuntu byo mu mutwe bifasha ubwonko gukora neza kuko ubwonko burya ikintu cyose tugiye gukora habamo coordination. Ni nka kujya gutwara imodoka ipine rizenguruka moteri ikagenda.
Everything we do has coordination. Our body communicates to each part of our body.
Hariho utuntu turemangingo tumwe muri amaneuron amwe yapfuye cyangwa se yabaye bushe kubera trauma uja ku gikorwa kimwe tukirangiza ugasimbira ku cya gatatu wasimbutse cya kabiri.
So when your neurons are not communicating properly, you skip steps of how your body should be working.
Ibitekerezo babihora bi racing thought. Umuntu agatekereza udahagarara.
So all the time your body is just racing, as he said. You will be forgetful.
Hari ababibagirwa mu buryo bubiri. Hari ahigera ikica courte mémoire cyangwa se kwibagirwa ibintu byavuba cyangwa ukibagirwa ibya kera.
It may cause you to forget short-term memory versus long-term memory sometimes.
Umuntu mwabanye mu bwana nk'imyaka 40 ishize niwe bukizina ukibagirwa mwabanye mu nzu umwaka ushize.
sometimes you may forget your friend, you may remember your friend from your childhood but forget the person who was
cyangwa
with
se
you,
bikaba vice versa,
or
bikaba
vice versa.
guhindagurika. Ikindi kigaragara cyane muzareba umuntu ibintu yakundaga gukora arabizinukwa.
Some people may abandon the things that they used to be to do.
Impamvu ndi kubivuga ndagira ngo mufashe abantu, umuntu wese uzi wahuye n'ibi n'abahura nabyo, ibimenyetso yibonye ntukajije uwo muntu aba afite ikibazo, nubwo nawe atabimenya ariko aba afite ikibazo.
I say this to urge you that when you see these signs among your loved ones, do not ignore or judge the person.
Niba umuntu yarakundaga gusenga aragenda akabivaho burundu.
People may abandon prayer if that was their practice.
Niba umuntu yarakundaga guseka ari umuntu w'ibyishimo birashira.
If they were happy and smiley, they may become quiet.
Abakundaga gukina umupira abivaho, yabona n'umupira kumva ntawe ushaka.
The soccer players or any games, they quit.
Ubuzima bw'umuntu burahinduka.
So their lives change
Ibyo yakundaga gukora akabivaho.
and stop doing what they've been doing.
Noneho hakaza n'inzozi ziteye ubwoba abantu barota nijoro.
So sometimes you may have dreams.
Hari umusaza wigeze gutura hano muri Portland.
A man who lived in Portland,
wacitse ku icumu ryo mu Rwanda,
who survived Rwandan genocide.
Umunsi umwe yabaga muri apartment yo hasi, hejuru hari abandi bantu.
He used to live in the first floor apartment.
Umunsi yagize kiriza kumva ba bantu bari hejuru barimo baravuza amafirimbi y'interahamwe bavuga ngo nimubafate nimubateme.
And when he was in crisis, he would think that his neighbors upstairs were chasing him, trying to kill him.
Kandi amajwi akayumva adasinziriye, ari muzima yicaye, ari yicaranye n'abandi akumva, akabwira umudamu atumva za nterahamwe ziragarutse, turi kumva amajwi.
And those were experiences that he had when he was alert.
Hari igihe yavuye hano afata bus aragenda arahunga, bamufatira New York. Ni ibintu byabaye muri uyu mujyi, abantu ndabazi.
He once fled here from here Portland to New York.
So abantu rero bahuye na trauma, arota inzozi zisubira cyagihe mu gatumba, akarota abantu babatema, zandura akazumva, ibintu byose akabibona.
So you may have nightmares, your experiences replaying in your dreams.
Hariho ikindi twita flashback.
The other thing that we call flashback.
Flashback ni ibintu biba mu mubiri w'umuntu, akumva ashobora no kugira ibintu bimeze nk'ibinya, akaba muri statut cyangwa se muri situation yari arimo wa munsi agira abona bya bibazo.
So you may have flashback. This means that you may feel like you are right there in the tent and the tent is burning in the right moment.
Nimba amahema yarahiye akumva umunuko w'aya mahema, ashobora kumva yicaye hano muri men.
You can exactly smell the tent while sitting here in Portland.
Abikunda kuba ahantu abantu bahiriye, amaraso burya amaraso agira impumuro yayo. Umuntu wacitse ku icumu iyo yumvise icyo kintu arwaye trauma, ya mpumuro iraza exactly uko yayumvise wa munsi.
This is because there is an extinct smell that comes from burnt people and that comes alive.
Mu bimenyetso bifata ubwonko bw'umuntu cyangwa se mind.
And those are some of the signs that are shown in your mind.
Ikindi gice cya kabiri kigize umuntu trauma ifata ni physical, no mubiri mu buzima busanzwe bw'umubiri.
The second part is your physical, just in your normal, like you may feel weak
kagenanirwa no kuzuka mu buriri,
and you just stay in your bed,
akaribwa umubiri,
you experience physical pain,
akarwara umugongo cyangwa ijosi,
you may feel cramps or shoulder pain, headache that is non-stop.
Papa nawe twigeze kuganira hano turangije commemoration ya 2005.
There was a man who in 2005 also spoke to me.
Ambwira ko yaragize imyaka 5 amwa ibinini by'umutwe buri munsi kandi umutwe ntuhagarara.
And said he'd been taking headache medicine for 5 years.
Hari abandi barwara amenyo.
Some people may have toothache.
Hari abafatwa n'ibintu byo harya no guhekenya amenyo.
Grinding.
Ishobora kuba sign ya trauma.
That could be also a sign of trauma.
ikindi gikomeye ngira ngo abantu bamenye uretse n'aba bacitse ku icumu n'abantu bari wacu murenge indwara dutangiye kubonayo ntabwo ari indwara twagiraga.
And sometimes you may experience new ways of sickness, and this is not something we
trauma
had.
ishobora kugutera cancer very easily.
Trauma can cause you to have cancer easily.
Trauma ishobora kugutera high blood pressure.
Sorry. You may have also high blood pressure. Umuvuduko w'amaraso.
Trauma ishobora kugutera diabetes.
You may have diabetes.
Trauma ishobora kugutera igifu.
You may have stomach problems.
Trauma ishobora kukwica amaso agapfa.
You may have vision
Trauma
problems.
ishobora kukwica amatwi agapfa.
You may lose hearing.
Ni ukuvuga ko indwara zose z'umubiri dusangana ishobora kuzitera.
I'm telling you that trauma can cause you all these different diseases or sickness of our body.
Iyo yageze mu mubiri uta equilibre, the immune system ubudahangarwa bw'umubiri bukaba buke indwara zose zikaba zagufata.
This is because your body loses equilibrium. Your immune system is out of balance.
Ikindi abantu bahora bari hypervigilance, sinzi ko nayivuga ariko reka mbaho urugero. Umuntu ashobora gukomanga ku rugo aje gukomanga iwe mu rugo umuntu agasimbuka.
That's mine.
Umuntu agasimbuka donc akantu gakoma gato umuntu akaba ari mu birere. Ni ukuvuga ko umutima utari mu gitereko.
So you may also experience what we call hypervigilance, meaning a little thing startles you.
Kutaryama bihagije umuntu akarara abona bugace.
You may lack sleep.
Sleepless.
Yeah, sleepless night.
Kugira ibyo nibyo twari tuvuze biza ku mubiri usanzwe ni bizinshi ko ndagiye naca muri.
And there's plenty, but those are some of the signs.
Ibyo nibyo nagiye nganira n'abantu bene wacu bagiye bacika mu.
And I've discussed these with some of the people that came to me.
Noneho hazamwo izindi za emotions cyangwa amarangamutima y'umuntu.
And then we get to the feelings, emotions.
Ahangaha biratangaje. Aho umuntu ahinduka agahinduka wamugeraho ngo wa muntu ngo yarahindutse.
This is why you see people and you say, oh, that person has changed.
Hari abantu benshi nganira nabo bavuye imurenge akagura ngo bandiriya barahindutse.
And sometimes I speak to my people even back home and they will say, oh, people have changed.
Aho nabimenye ngira ubwoba namwe mwicaye hano hari igihe mbareba nkagira ubwoba. How can a human being wanyuze muri ibi bintu aba muzima akabyuka akaja mu rusengero akanezerwa akaja mu kazi akabyara? Hari ibintu biteye ubwoba biri muri twebwe tutazi tukabyitirira umuntu ngo yarahindutse yahinduye imico. Ntabwo ari bisara umuntu ararwaye.
Yeah, it amazes me when I observe my people and my loved ones who experience such trauma just continue with their daily lives.
2017 ziriya ntambara zitangiye iwacu hari umugabo twavuganye mu docteur w'umunyamurenge ndamubwira ngo ubwoba mfite nuko izi ntambara zitangiye iwacu ubwoko bwacu bugiye gushira no selma gushira mu physically ariko kandi no muri mentally ubwoko bwacu bugiye kurangira.
I worry that not only people are killing us, but those who remain are also wounded mentally.
Kuko nta bufasha tubona.
Because we have no help.
Ningo kubona umuntu wakomeretse yakoze accident y'imodoka arimo arava amaraso ukamuta ku muhanda niko tumeze.
It's almost leaving us wounded on the road and ignoring those wounds.
N'abana tubyara.
Even the children that we have.
Kubatera ubwo bizo ni ibintu by'ubushakashatsi n'igitabo nanditse birimo. Senjenje nyine wabibonye n'abandi barabikoze.
These are written research.
Umubyeyi ufite trauma ashobora kubyara umwana ufite trauma wa mwana akazabyara ufite trauma gutyo na gutyo.
Trauma is transferable from mother to child.
Umwana akavuka afite izindi ndwara zitewe na trauma ya mama wiwe. Hari umugabo w'umuyahudi warokotse Holocaust.
There was a Jewish man who survived the Holocaust.
Holocaust yabaye afite umwaka umwe.
He was 1 year old.
Yes. Icyo gihe ushobora kuvuga ati uwo mwana nta kintu yabonye mu by'ukuri ntacyo yumvise.
You may say this child will not remember anything.
Abaho ubuzima bwe bwose muri I think 2018 cyangwa 2017 aho ngaho ararwara bamudiagnosinga mo trauma. Y'icyo gihe yari afite imyaka kuva igihe genocide y'Abayahudi wanze afite imyaka 80 irenga.
He was about 80 years old when he was diagnosed with trauma.
Ninkibuye wafashe urishize mu gitaka ntabwo rizabora kubera ko riri mu gitaka. Igihe cyose uzimba cyangwa se imivi zazikoreho cya gitaka ryabuye rizagaruka nimba ari ryo gusi urisitareho cyangwa rigira ikindi rikora.
Compare trauma as taking a stone and burying the stone. Even though it may rain, the water will take the dirt, but the stone will remain.
Trauma itavuwe iragenda ikaba dormant cyangwa se igasinzira ikazabyutswa n'akantu kamwe. Uri umusaza umwuzukuru wawe yapfa wababara gusa umunsi umwe ya trauma tinanje ndaje.
If not treated, trauma can stay dormant and could be awakened by just one unexpected thing.
Abantu bagira umujinya mwinshi.
People may experience anger as an emotion.
Mugabo nababwiye yarambwiye ati mbona n'abarumuna banje mu yaza kundamutsa mu gitondo kavuga ngo wampa umupanga ngo mucijosi.
This man who I spoke with will tell me that even my younger siblings, they will speak to me and I will feel like I want to kill them.
Mu mazina basomya no bamuvuze. Ariko ubu nyine no muntu muzima.
But this man received help and he's healthy.
Hari ikindi twita denial cyangwa se kutemera ku bintu byabaye.
Another thing we call denial. It's also a form of not accepting what happened.
I'm sorry to tell young women here, young male, barokotse ubwicanyi. I'm sorry to tell them. Cyangwa se mumbabare mbabwire.
Murambabarira kubibabwira.
Nuko what happened ntacyo twabihindura.
Ibyabaye, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do.
Tugomba guhagarara tukavuga ngo tituzapfa ntituzashira nkuko bamaze abacu.
We can only stand strong and say we will not die.
Kuko healing ibamwo uburyo bubiri, ibamwo kugira ngo umuntu akire burundu cyangwa neza hagomba kuzamo ubushake bwa mbere bwo kumva ko mfite ikibazo ndashaka gukira.
Because healing is only when you seek help. You have to understand that you need help.
Icya kabiri ukabona umuntu kuvura.
And the second thing is actually finding treatment.
Pereza umurwayi rendezvous yo kuzaza ku cyumweru cyangwa ku wa mbere cyangwa ku wa gatatu. Iyo ataje sinjya kumushaka mu rugo.
As we provide counseling, you receive an appointment. If you do not attend the appointment, I don't come to find you.
Trauma nka kurya uja kwa muganga inzoka cyangwa umutwe ukurya wumva ugomba kuruhuka ruko wabonye umuntu gufasha.
This means that with trauma is similar to having a headache and knowing that you can only feel better if you receive treatment.
Cyiza cyacu nasanze gifasha abanyafrika cyane ni community. Kuba muri community gufashanya twese.
The other big thing is staying in community.
Ama church nasanze ari factor imwe ifasha abantu muri healing.
Church is important for healing.
Nzasaba n'abapasiteri ngo inyigisho za healing muzazigire nyinshi kuko abantu bose twese turaba survivors. Buri muntu wese mu banyamurenge afite somehow ukuntu yababaye.
I also asked the pastors to incorporate healing in the church services because we are all survivors. I lived among the Bembe population.
Kuva mu mwaka wa mbere wa primaire buri munsi twajaga ku ishuri tukarwana tugakubitwa ko nitwe twari bake.
Because we were minority, every day in school we were beaten.
Twiga primaire turwana nono umunsi wo gusoza umwaka niwo munsi twarwanaga biteye ubwoba bakadutera amabuye bakoresheje
imishari
cyangwa se bakadutema.
So every day sometimes we will fight and they will throw stones at us.
Dukura muri ubwo buzima tubifata nkaho ari ibintu bisanzwe.
And we thought that was a normal life.
Hari abantu bigaruka mu myaka 40-50 bwa buzima twabayemo.
45 years later it comes back hunting some of us.
Kuko nta muntu wigeze kubwira ko ufite uburenganzira bwo kubaho neza nta muntu guhuta.
This is because we never felt that we had the right to live.
Ikindi kizamo tuzita mood swing umuntu ugasanga arishimye mu minota 2 mwarimo muganira ukabona umuntu araguhindutse.
The other thing is mood swing, which means one moment you are happy, the other moment you're angry or sad.
Bikazana nivyo twita depression, kumva ubabaye nta kumva kazoza kawe nta kagihari nico gihe abantu bamwe mu bazungu birabananira akiyica cyangwa akiyahura.
it may lead to depression, feeling hopeless, and for some people, they may kill themselves.
abenshi hari igihe yicara kumva umutima urateye cyane akabira ibyuya mu ntoki mu biganza.
Some people may feel their heart beating fast and may have sweaty palms.
akumva arabura ibintu kandi ibintu zose biri imbere yiwe.
They may feel like they need so much even though they have what they need.
Igice cya nyuma ni behavior, imyitwarire y'umuntu.
The last thing I'm going to speak about is the behavior of the person.
Trauma iragenda ikajira mu myitwarire y'umuntu, umuntu akigunga.
Trauma affects you and you become secluded or isolated from others.
Hari abandi bitera kurya cyane se cyangwa kurya bukeye.
Other people may eat a lot or not eat at all or eat little.
Uzayibona cyane muri bene wacu b'ibihugu yagize trauma, ushobora kuba yari umuntu ufite ibiro 50 mu mezi abiri ugasanga nta mwenda ukimukwira.
Sometimes we've seen people who are in this culture like 50 kilos and the next time the clothes don't fit.
umuntu akananuka agashira nta ndwara yindi arwaye iri igaragara.
Or sometimes you may lose weight for no other reason.
Hakazamo icyo kindi twita escaping, none kubera ko bwa bubabare abwumva yumva afite umubabaro mwinshi, umuntu akaja gushakira agakiza mu nzoga cyangwa mu biyobyabwenge.
The other thing is escaping, meaning you want to not experience what you're experiencing, so you do something else to cover up.
Icyo baba bashaka nicyo twita to numb their system. Ngaho yaba gutera ikinya ugasinzira. Niba umuntu ababaye akumva ko namwe inzoga agasinda araja mu biraryame byibuze iryo joro asinzira.
For example, people may seek alcohol as a form of numbing.
Cyangwa se akajya mu biyobyabwenge.
Or other drugs.
Hari abana benshi bacu bari muri izo nzira kubera ko babuze ubufasha.
Some of our children are using drugs because they didn't find other ways.
Kubera ko bagiye mu biyobyabwenge.
Some of them are in prisons.
Tukabyita ngo iki gihugu ariko ni umutwaro abana bazanye babura ubatura.
This is because they are experiencing trauma but they don't have help.
Yego ni iki gihugu gifite ibyacu ariko none ufata ibyo ngibyo ugafata n'ibyo basanze muri iki gihugu, it's too much kumwana kugira ngo abyumve.
Yes, the system is challenging, but trauma also combined with the systems.
Kubera ko natwe tutabyumva ababyeyi, umwana wo kumufasha mukamutererana tukamushyiraho pressure, wabaye kirara ariko ntituzi bimutera kuba icyo ngicyo.
Because the parents do not understand, the child is left to seek help in other means.
Ikindi kizamo no kutagira imibanire myiza n'abantu, ugasanga niba ari umudamu urwaye trauma cyangwa umugabo mu rugo bikanga pe abantu ntibumvikana.
Also the relationship may be broken at home.
Ugasanga umuntu ntiyitaho akaba detached to the material thing, ibintu afite byiwe atunze tabigirira imbabazi.
And people may become detached and not take care of what they have. Some people may have dirtiness or not clean their clutter. Right? Because nothing makes you happy because of that much trauma.
Bavuga ko uyu munsi wegereje akanga no kuza kuko ntashaka kumva icyo kintu.
And some people, when they hear the time to remember, for example, the Gatumba massacre, they might hide or not want to hear any stories about it.
The situation na place zibibutsa hahantu.
So they avoid the situation and the place that reminds them of the traumatic event.
Muri iyo umuntu mudiagnose ni hari icyo twita agoraphobia. No umuntu tuvuge niba umuntu yarakoze impanuka usanga atinya imodoka cyangwa ahantu yayikoreye niba ari ku kiraro yagera ku kiraro akaba yahagarara akabura haje.
Some people may have what we call agoraphobia. It's the fear of the thing or what you have experienced.
Donc iyo agoraphobia ni ubwoba bw'ikintu cyaguteye ikibazo.
Yeah, being fearful of the thing that caused you or the traumatic event that you had. For example, in Rwandan genocide, people were killed in the churches.
abantu barokwekeye muri amatorero iyo ugiye kubabaza muri za kiliziya cyangwa amatorero abenshi iyo babwiye no gusenga Imana baragutuka.
The survivors from those churches are fearful and they don't even want to speak about God in church. It feels like it's an insult to them.
Hakazamo n'ikindi kintu cha self esteem kwitakariza icyizere.
The other thing is losing your self esteem.
Ukumva ko nta buzima nta muntu kwisi ukigukunda nta kazozo ufite nta donc ukumva ko utakiri umuntu wo kuba.
You lose hope because you think no one loves you no more, no one cares about you.
Iyo bigezaho niho abantu akamwa inzoga zirenze urugero nizo yamwaga akamwa ibiyobyabwenge avuga ati nubundi ndinde se nta muntu uriho.
And this comes to a point a person would then start to using drugs, alcohol as a form of numbing or hiding from the trauma.
Akazamo n'ikintu cyo kwicira urubanza.
The other thing is like judging yourself.
Nimba wararokotse abavyeyi bawe bagapfa ngo ariko wa wundi wende iyo nsubira nyuma mba narakuruye karumuna kanje tukajana.
For example, if you survived but lost your loved ones like your parent or your sibling and you wonder if I had gone back maybe I would have served one of them.
Nibura umuvyeyi ukavuga uti iyo ndasohoka wenda mba nararamiye umwana umwe.
If you're a parent, you say, maybe if I stayed a little longer, I could have saved one of my child. And this causes you to feel shame. The worst that was done to you, and you start carrying that load to your shoulders.
So nigute twakwifata kugira nico ngiye kurangiza nigute twakwifata kugira ngo iyo trauma tiduherane kugira ngo n'ubuzima bwacu turimo kuko abagiye ko turabibuka none ariko twebwe turahari turi cyizere cy'ejo hazaza nigute twakomeza ico cyizere nigute twakwikiza kuko umuntu afite
How can we serve ourselves from that much trauma as we remember our loved ones? How can we live in such a way that we have less trauma?
Mu nyigisho za trauma cyangwa se n'izindi zose umubiri cyangwa se umuntu agira capacity cyangwa imbaraga zo kwivura wenyine umubiri wawe ugira imbaraga zo kwivura wenyine.
Your body has an ability to heal itself.
Ariko icyo gihe hagomba kubamo coordination.
But there has to be some sort of coordination.
Hari ibintu abantu bavuga bya kera ngo basogokuru baje guterekera umwana arwaye abantu wenda bakuru babyumvise hari gihe yagaruka agasanga umwana yakize siko byagendaga irya ni power of the mind ni imbaraga zo mu mutwe niko kwizera natwe abakristo dukoresha burya kwizera no gukordona ibyo wumva cyangwa se utabona nibyo ufite ukabihuriza hamwe umubiri wawe ukabyumva ubwonko bwawe ukabyumva niko kwizera.
Faith is putting in coordination your mind and your spiritual and what you believe together
and your body.
No
kuvuga ko iyo ufite trauma ukabimenya ko uyifite utangira kwivura wowe wenyine igihe mbere yo kuja kubavuza.
If you know you have trauma, you can start with your body.
Hari ibibazo umuntu yibaza.
Sometimes you may ask yourself,
ufata ikintu cya mbere ugomba gutandukanya ibitekerezo cyangwa se twita intekerezo nibifatika reality cyangwa se fact.
You begin by separating facts, reality, from what you imagine.
Aho kugira ngo wicire urubanza abantu baje kwica abicanye baje kwica abantu mu Gatumba mwari mwavuganye twaruzi iyo bavuye you are the victim ahubwo Imana yarakurokoye nta rubanza ufite tugomba kwicira urubanza.
There is no reason why you should judge yourself or crucify yourself over what happened.
Utandukanyije thought za ntekerezo zawe ziri negative cyangwa se zigucira urubanza ukazitandukanya n'ukuri kw'ibyabaye.
This is how you can separate the negative thoughts in your mind from the reality of what happened.
Hanyuma ukibaza mu ntekerezo zawe ukibaza ese izi ntekerezo nizinjana kuri trauma cyangwa se n'intekerezo nzima nari nsanganywe ukagira iyo capacity yo gutandukanya ayo ma symptom ya trauma n'ubuzima bwa bundi busanzwe.
And learn to identify your ways of thinking when you were still normal, or the ways of thinking because you're experiencing trauma.
Niba uri umubyeyi umwana yarapfuye ariko ufite abandi ukumva ko ibyabaye umwana wawe ntawe uzuhambuwe ngo yibagirwe, ariko kandi you need to ugomba guhagarara kugira ngo n'aba bantu usigaranye barere cyangwa se n'abandi bazavuka uzabarere.
As a parent, you have to stand strong, because if you have any surviving children, you have to invest in those.
Muri mwebwe abana batoya babuza ababyeyi icyo gihe cyangwa se muvukana, abenshi mwavuze hano mwari mufite hagati y'imyaka 8 na 10 n'ingahe, ariko mufite abana banyu.
For those who survived Gatumba massacre, you are now parents to your own children.
Wavuze hano nshaka gukosora mushiki wacu wavuze mbere ngo that's where my story stops. No. Umunsi washatswe ninde wavuze washatswe 2018 ugatangira kubyara, that's when your story started. Kubera ko your story is not negative. Your story yawe ntabwo igomba kuba yabari abicanye. Kiriya ni ikintu bashatse kugushiraho, ariko ugomba gufata your story. What is positive? Niki cyawe kigomba kwere kuri yamwicanye ko nta mbaraga kigufiteho n'abana bawe urimo kubyara. Aho niho story yawe yatangiriye. Sibyo? Aho niho story yacu itangirira yo guhagarara tukabwira abicanye ko bishe 165 ariko hamaze kuvuka ibihumbi kandi n'ibindi bizavuka mu mashami y'abangaba yasigaye.
Your story does not end when the devil killed your loved ones, but your story begins when you did something about it. You lived positively.
Nababwiye ko gukira hagomba kuzamo ubushake bwawe bwa mbere.
And I said healing has to be your willingness to seek healing.
Kandi ukabikora intentionally.
And you need to do this purposefully.
N'umugambi ukavuga ngo baranyisha ariko sinzapfa.
You have to do this with an intent, because you want to prove wrong. They tried to destroy me, to kill me, but I'm alive. And you begin by doing what you loved to do.
Birya nababwiye amasymptome nimba agenda uruhande wo ugatangira kuyafacinga uyarwanya.
If you have signs of trauma or symptoms of trauma, you start doing the opposite of what is pushing you to do.
Iyo tuvura abantu hariho script tubahereza basoma buri munsi.
When we are treating people, we have a script for them to read.
Umuntu akaza akakubwira cyane abanyamerika we niyo navuga uravuga ati uyu muntu wamutwara iyo twavuyeho yapfa, akakubwira ngo iwacu ntibankunda nahaye umuntu gift ntiyambwira ngo thank you. Icyo kikaba ikibazo akaza kumwe imiti kubera icyo kintu.
I've seen people who suffered trauma because somebody did not say thank you over a gift that was given.
Umuntu higiye kumuvura hari script umwaka ajya asoma buri gitondo aja kugira amezi 2 bya bindi avuga byamubayeho, donc yumvise ko personality we yagarutse yabaye umuntu muzima.
The script helps you to build new character or build new positive thinking within you.
So ibyo tubyita confronting negative thoughts cyangwa se negative messages kuzamo, kurwanya ibitekerezo bibi kuzamo. Murambabarira natinze reka ndangize.
You good. You good, you can conclude.
Ariko ngiye kurangiza. Ukamenya ikibazo ufite, ukamenya n'umwanya ugishiramo kugira ngo ntikikwicira ubuzima bwa bundi busanzwe.
When you know, you identify your problem, you will know how to classify it so it doesn't ruin your life.
Hari ubundi buryo dukoresha bwitwa strength based dialogue cyangwa therapy.
There are other ways of therapy that are based on your strength.
Hari abantu nabajije ndababaza ngo buri muntu nagende yandike strength cyangwa se imbaraga ibintu byiza yiyumvamo ashoboye.
I had a session when I asked people to go and identify things they know are their strength.
Bose bagaruka nta wanditse ikintu umuntu
and they all came back
ndi useless
with nothing.
Ariko iyo tuganira usanga ba bantu baje kuvamo afite list ndende kamaze se ko mbona wambaye imyenda none mu gitondo hari umukozi ugira wakwambitse imyenda ati none nje wiyambitse. Iyo ni strength kuko hari abandi badashobora kwiyambika imyenda. Nkababwira umuntu wabuzutse mu gitondo uroga wiyambika imyenda. Iyo ni strength.
Like I would tell you that you woke up this morning, you dressed yourself, that is a strength.
Mu gitondo wabuzutse take a breakfast abana bararya. Iyo ni strength.
You woke up in the morning, made breakfast for your children, that is a strength.
Muri therapy nta gufasha ugutwi cyangwa gukuruye mu mugozi. Iyo ni strength.
You brought yourself within here to seek help, that is a strength.
Part-time job. Iyo ni strength.
You said you work, that is a strength.
No kubera ko abantu bavuga ko nta kintu bafite. Iwe arareba uko arara nuko abyuka zantekereza kumva ko ari bwo buzima bwiwe.
Because of negative thinking, they don't see what are their strengths.
Abo bantu iyo ugiye kumuvura bamubwira ngo genda urebe imbaraga zawe ufite ubanza uzirebemo.
We push people then to seek within themselves.
Uzihagarareho ugenda uzamuka.
Find the strength and stand from there.
Abacikacumu bo mu Gatumba ndababwira ngo mugende muhagarare kuri strength mufite.
Survivors, you need to stand on your strength.
Muhere ku mafamiye maze kubaka.
Begin from your own families that you've built.
Ninde wari uzi ko uriya munsi muzaba murimo abadamu n'abagabo.
Who knew you will now be mothers and fathers?
Muzaba murimo abantu bafite masters na za PhDs.
Who knew you will have doctorates, masters and PhDs?
Umwana wahagaze hano atubwira ukuntu yarokotse icumu arasubiraje gufatwa nabi. Ninde wari uzi ko uyu munsi azaba ahagaze hano muri Amerika ari umumama ufite urugo.
Who knew, like you said, you survived being treated bad in the Gatumba massacre also, but you're here with your children.
Mwese murakora mufite utuzi muragaburira ingo zanyu mwubatse amazu mufite famiye nziza.
You work hard every day, you feed your families, you take care of them. Those are strengths.
Ntabwo biriya byabaye ariyo kashe yanyu, ntabwo ari identity yanyu. No.
What happened in Gatumba is not your identity.
Reka ntabwo ari.
No.
Kumucikacumu ntabwo ari identity.
Being a survivor is not an identity.
It's an event.
It's an event that happened. This is something that happened.
Part of your life.
It is not part of who you are.
It's an event.
It was just an event that happened.
It's an event.
I hope that when you leave here, you will say that what happened in Gatumba was one event.
Kandi iyo event yabaye hariho aba victim bajanye nayo ababyeyi bacu abo tuvuka.
And that event took our parents, our loved ones.
Ariko bari ababyeyi bansize ntabwo bansize nitwa event. Bansize nitwa mwene kanaka.
But because they left
in their shoes. Uyu munsi wa none ndi mu mwanya wabo.
I'm now standing in their shoes. I'm now doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Umunsi uzajya wumva ijwi rikubwira ngo you're nothing wasigaye wenyine ntabandi muri uzubabwira ngo nitwa naka. Umuntu ufite I'm sorry reka mvuge izina rya papa right? Is it Gasosi right? Uzajya ubwira izo ntekerezo uzibwira ngo ndi Gasosi. The way I'm standing here, ndi Gasosi.
When you feel thoughts in your mind telling you I'm nothing, I'm an orphan, I have no parents, but speak to yourself. Tell those voices, I am Gasosi.
Iyo uvuze gutyo ni utangirira self-healing.
This is where you begin to self-heal.
Muganire n'abantu.
Talk to people.
Natwe duturanye nabo twegere abavandimwe.
And we in our community also get close to them.
Tugire events zo gufasha abantu.
In our churches, let's have
seminars zita kuri ibyo bintu.
Have seminars that would take care of these people.
Tuve muri stigma cyangwa se guha kato kutavuga ibintu uko byabaye.
Let's not dwell in the past and also call this a stigma, but talk about it.
Kuko stigma ni kimwe mu bituma trauma ikomera.
Because stigma strengthens trauma.
Abana bato mugira ama club yo gufashanya.
I encourage you to build clubs to help one another.
Muje mu mashuri mwige.
Go to school, study.
Face the challenge head on.
I can't say.
Be bold. Muhagarare mushizamanga.
Yego.
Kubera ko abanzi mureke mbabwira ikintu giteye ubwoba muri trauma. Tuza abantu bishe abantu mu Gatumba. Nabo bafite trauma.
those who killed our loved ones in Gatumba, they are also experiencing
Donc trauma
trauma.
ifata victim na victimizer.
Because trauma can touch or can affect the survivor and the traumatizer.
Nyuma
or the
jenoside
killer.
mu Rwanda
After Rwandan genocide,
hari umugabo wishe umwana,
there was a man
wishe umwana muri jenoside.
who killed a child during genocide,
Ahita traumatized the same day.
and on the same day he became
Afata umutwe
traumatized
wa mwana ushira mu gakapu.
and took the head of that child.
Arawugendana 94 irarangira.
Carried in his backpack throughout
95 irarangira.
94, 95.
Bamufashe 96 afite agakapo yiriranwa ku mugongo karimo umutwe w'umwana yishe, ari urumva yarabaye ari amagufa asigaye.
He was caught in 2005 or 2006 with the bones of the head of that child. When he was caught, he said, if I didn't carry this, I would not sleep. Because he kept hearing the voices of the child he killed. This is those, the killers also are sick. Because they also are just like us. Because they can also experience trauma of what they've done.
So mubindi, take care of yourself, wiyiteho.
To conclude, wiyiteho.
Kore siporo, murye neza, wite ku muryango wawe, uganire n'inshuti, uje muri vacation, kubera ko that was an event.
Take care of yourself, eat well, take care of your families. This was an event.
Please, abana b'abasore n'inkumi, don't try to quick fix the problem. Timugashake igisubizo cyihuta cyo kurangiza iki kibazo arico nzoga n'ibiyobyabwenge.
And do not go seeking the quick fix, such as trying to consume alcohol or drugs.
Kuko bigutwara muri bwa bwihebe bikagarura n'ibindi wibagiwe.
Because this will only keep re-traumatizing you.
I'm sorry nafashe umwanya ariko iki ni ikiganiro twatanga ukwezi kukaza kugashira kundi kugashira, ariko kubera umwanya dufite ibyo nibyo by'ingenzi. Ndaza guha umusore sinzi umuntu wanyandikiye, mfite email, mfite telefone ye, ndaza kubaha my phone cyangwa se barayifite na email, uzashaka ama resources arambuye nzayabohereza, cyangwa se n'uwashaka kumvugisha on a personal level namufasha twongere dukomere.
I'm also comforting you, and I will share my contacts as I said before.
Abantu bacu bazize uko bameze, dukomere kugira ngo dushake bwa butabera turimo tuvuga.
Stay strong as we continue to seek justice.
Tuzashaka ubutabera natwe ubwacu turwaye turi bisenzegere.
It will be hard to seek justice if we are broken.
Umuntu ufite ikibazo iminota itarenze 5 nafata ibibazo nka 3, nimba hari ikintu umuntu yumva afite ikibazo yambaza, then ngasubiza gahunda abandi. Ndabona nta bibazo dufite. Mwakoze rero kandi dukomeze twihangane twibuka abacu.
Okay, urakoze cyane.